So we'll move to the second keynote, or second, yes. Sofia. Sofia, are you with us? Yes, Sofia is there. She's on mute. Um, Sofia is an MD, is a medical doctor, leading innovation and virtual client at Lucidis. Okay, I'm going to really mess up that Lucid. Okay.
No, it is well said.
Yes, that one. That's what I wanted to say. One of Portugal's largest private health groups, specializing in smart aging and precision medicine. She holds an MBA from Lisbon and under scholarship from MIT and Harvard Medical School. A futurist winner of Singularity University's Global Impact Challenge and Europe Private Hospitals 2023 Best Innovation Project. She serves as a medical officer at Patient Innovation, advisor at Youth Untech, and teaches innovation and new technologies in health. She's going to guide us today into a very interesting topic, from One Health to Compassion AI, personalization, connection, and flourishing. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Lee. Now it's really good to meet you and to see you now in person, because we just shared by email. Can I share my screen?
Yes, please.
So I'm going to share the entire one. I'm going to go with these. Okay. All good? All seeing my hello upside down? Okay. Are you seeing my screen? Yes? Sorry. I cannot see you. I just hear you.
We can see your screen. Yes.
Thank you so much.
Sorry, upside down. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. So first of all, congratulations on the organization of this amazing conference. Actually, I just came from another one, and in-person one from HIMSS, and I was sharing the link with everyone, because when I talk about it, there's always a wow effect in the audience, in the people. So it's really interesting how this comes to a moment. So I'm really glad to be part of it, and I was able also to listen some of the sessions in the morning. So very happy. This is a challenge for me, because I live literally in the middle of technology and people, or of innovation using technology and people. So it's very interesting, because AI is such a hype world, and we are often spoke about it as a super interesting tool. But I believe that it is, of course, much more than that. It's kind of a mirror to the civilization that we are building, which I think it's also a challenge to us all. Because as we are applying, we are moving on it, and of course the way we design it is for sure a reflection not just of our technical skills, where we have discussions everywhere about it, but also, and much more important, our values, our sense of purpose, for instance, or our vision for the future. And I think when we talk about the future, is always a synonym for a journey. And I think that in healthcare, where I move, health is always a journey per se as well. So this vision where technology, humanity, and nature can flourish together is probably, and I'm going to be maybe very closed on that, but probably the only way I think we can see and approach healthcare. So I thought how we can position One Health, the concept that I'm going to talk a little bit further, and this compassion AI in the same stand. So it's very interesting that I think we all agree that we are in a crossroads, with probably not just two cross, but a lot of them, where we have a low or medium low global AI trust. So when you think about it in healthcare, it's even lower than the 54%. And numbers are important just to position where we are in the picture. And I think healthcare is even more fragmented when we think all across the globe. So we have very different approaches to what it means to be healthy, what it means to navigate a system, how the system treats the patient or the citizen. So And many times, allow me to do the analogy, we work and treat organs, not people. We work with technology, not vision. And this is one of the largest problems, is even the person is just part of the system, and we need to zoom out to really look at ecosystems. So I call this kind of the civilization diagnosis, where AI is not just about apps or, of course, algorithms that I really cherish, but it is much more whether our civilization chooses to go from the crossroads of efficiency over flourishing, or profit over purpose. And I think this arena, healthcare, is probably one of the best arenas to test this choice over and over again, because it touches every human being, and every community, and of course, because of that, every ecosystem. So I wanted to kind of invite everyone to think about how we can navigate this ecosystem, this world ecosystem, where compassion AI, or the way we look at AI, which I totally identify myself like that, is not just like a smarter or a smart machine, but it's a co creating partner to improve, or to see a different future. So my idea would be, of course, and I think it's something in common to everyone that would be assisting or being part of this meeting today, is a future where actually humans, technology, and ecosystems can grow and flourish stronger because they are together. And I think this compassion AI, for the work I do, and for the team I lead, is much more on designing systems and ecosystems that can see all the layers of life, all the layers, not only biological, social, ecological, and even spiritual, but it in a way that we can be succeeded, and we can help us all to be to live longer and better together, with a more meaningful approach. And this is totally aligned with the concept that I hope that everyone already heard about, but this concept of One Health. It's a concept that is coming out of the academic world. It's not super new, but we started to talk about it not that long ago as well. And it's still something that for some physicians in the world is kind of obvious. For others, it's discussable. I'm citing. Um, and so for some healthcare systems or disease care systems, it's definitely a disruption to the modus operandi that the systems take. So One Health teaches that health is never just, of course, individual human well-being. It's totally bounded to animal health, ecosystem balance, and climate change, biodiversity, all the environmental bioma that we now start to talk about due to epigenetics, due to AI, that all of that influences health. So it's impossible to touch one part of the system and do not impact the other side. So now imagine that we have an AI tool, like a digital twin, a real digital twin, not the digital twins that we already talk about and that we already implement in some parts of health, where we have really nice sensors just connected and measuring some things, but really a digital twin of a community, integrating human biomarkers, digital biomarkers as well, livestock health, hair quality, biodiversity indexes, all of that things, or those variables that we can think that would impact that community. With this, we could imagine simulate how a new farming practice or a new policy would impact not just crops, but also respiratory disease, economic resilience, or even mental health. So this is One Health in action, and I think technology would be is actually the enabler that we were for years and years waiting to have in place. So, and this takes me to what I see, how I see health in the at the moment and for the next years. We already we are very used to talk about 4 Ps: the predictive, preventive, participatory, and personalized health. But we are now in a moment where we are adding either a fifth P or even a sixth P, which would be purpose driven, that is totally aligned with the decision making process in the beginning, before we take decisions on health, on our own health, or even on the ecosystem health. Um, and also one that probably is a result of these five P's together, which would be the proactive approach. So we often describe medicine of the future as based with these five P's. These are not just medical principles, but they coordinate, of course, how people, how the whole civilization actually would navigate the concept of health. And we can now bring them to life, which is probably something that was waiting for decades, because it's like some theories in physics or even AI. It was a theoretical approach. They have a theoretical approach by the 20s, by the 30s, and only now we are really seeing it in real life, taking this capacity. And one of the things that we are assisting in this at this moment with these five P's is the huge difficulty that all the systems, all the ecosystems have in incorporating this mindset that is totally not aligned with the design of the ecosystem. So main of the systems are disease care related or focused, and we are of course talking about exactly the opposite, to get to the citizen, to get to the human being before they got sick and before needing a system to take care of their disease. And this is, of course, a challenge. I'm going to deep dive a little bit so that we can do a relation between how we see these five P's and how AI actually is boosting it. So predictivity is coming a lot from this concept of digital twinning, which I must say this is one of my sweetest topics, because I'm just waiting for computation to be able to really and properly doing it. But how would have a digital twin of the full body with all the biochemistry, biophysics, everything fully connected, of a hospital, of the full ecosystem. So we could predict disease progression, we could anticipate ecosystems collapsing, think about the ecosystem, or think about an organ connected to all, connecting all cells. We could have this social fragility identified much before. So telling the person you need to exercise when you're 20, because when you're 50, you would need it. But not just theoretically or not just based on we think or assumptions, but to show it to everyone so that the self-conscious of each person would actually come up and change behaviors and expectations that sometimes go to the wrong place. So, but prediction without compassion can become control. And this is one of the challenges that we are living now, that many people that measure a lot of their disease or a lot of their health, they start feeling this sense of controlling. That is why ethics must be so embedded in the core, and also bioethics should be so well discussed. Then the next P, preventive, which is probably one of the oldest P's that we talk about. But when we think about preventive and AI, preventive AI could actually help us simulate alternative futures, which for someone that is always designing future alternatives would be, it's a super helpful. So for example, if this community invests in clean water versus not investing, or investing in another clean energy, for instance, what would be the impact? How many people and how much of the ecosystem would be impacted? So the AI can show the health, the social, and the ecological impact in 10 years, in 20 years, or even more. Of course, we know that data is a thing, but think about that has really fully data connected with all the technology active and making the data moving around. So prevention would become something more like a civilization choice, not just a clinical advice person by person. Talking about person, of course, personalized. Personalization is where actually AI, and allow me to use one of the concepts that you so well described in the conference, which and probably I'm going to say it, pronounce it not in the correct way, but where AI meets ma, the pause. So a digital twin of an individual patient, imagine, can simulate thousands of treatment paths, path before even touch the patient. So, but the compassionate design asks which one aligns not only with survival, but also with the person life goals, with culture and dignity. We are talking about a lot about that in very hard treatments like cancer, like chemotherapy or immunotherapy. So it's always very interesting to have this stop and stare before decide. And most of the times we don't have the time to evaluate and to access these different scenarios with a high level of accuracy, and only of course AI would be able to do it. Then one of my favorite P's, which is participatory. So when you think about participatory AI, communities can really co-design their futures. Imagine villages, councils exploring scenarios with AI twins. Again, if we change our farming, what happens to the children's health? How can I decide to generate a law to block some usage of substances because they would impact food, health, and so on? And this is how AI could not be a dictator, but a dialogue partner would be how we incorporate this dialogue access to be in each of the voices. So probably the real idea of a democracy. And then the purpose driven, which I think it's the P that now connects the rest of them. So it's about embedding values as well directly into simulation. And this is probably one of the hardest but the most interesting layers of our algorithms design, which is which future do we want to prioritize, and how do we define profit growth, ecology, resilience, happiness? How do we define happiness or even health? So, by making this purpose more explicit, we are forced to choose consciously. We cannot say, I chose that because I didn't know. So, as a civilization, we would be much more able. Of course, I'm talking about the good sides and the good uses, the good usage. There's always the dark side, and I think this is also important to have it always in mind. Then again, I could not connect this amazing compassion AI playbook that you beautifully draw with the Japanese wisdom, because I've learned in a fast pace, but I directly connected to how we see this personalized precision care nowadays. So I was trying to, and allow me please, to reinterpret them through the lens of health and innovation, mainly how we do things different. And because part of the health innovation path or steps actually would be mimicked, they would mimetize exactly these three concepts. So wow, which means the harmony speaks directly to the concept of one health, because for me it's totally impossible not to think about this integration across systems, but systems that should be balanced and coordinated in the good way. So health innovation cannot live in silos and need to be comprehensive, cross fields. Actually, cross innovation is one of the most efficient in all levels ways of implementing innovation. And compassionate AI must connect these dimensions to actually generate solutions that would fit the majority of the group. Then Ma, the space for reflection, the pause, which I found it amazing because it reminds me on how innovation in medicine often is racing ahead without pauses, because a lot of new players are entering this sector, and this is really a challenge because yet it is health. So we need to pause, to sometimes to pause too much we cannot save a life, but most of the times this translation of pausing just help us building systems that actually allow to test, simulate, reflect before scale. And I think this is incredible, like the usage of digital twins that I already spoke about. I think they are an amazing way on boosting reflection before implementation. And then wabi sabi, and probably I'm not pronouncing it beautifully, but the beauty of imperfection. I think it resonates a lot with the reality of innovation in any field, but more when we think about human lives, which is we will never eliminate uncertainty. And uncertainty, whether it's genetic variation, pandemics, or the uncertainty of how a patient is going to receive a treatment or the way they are going to live their own health. I think this is any social determinant would be much happier if could access and embrace uncertainty. And I think that's many times we miss it with failure, and it is precisely where compassionate AI, I think, can help, which is do not deny uncertainty, just embrace it, but help us navigate it with wisdom and, of course, with resilience as far as we can. And then let me just go with an example, which is imagine that you have a city built with a digital twin, really well done. I've wrote a chapter for a book exactly around that, how we can feed it with climate projections, hospital data, traffic, cultural patterns, people that live there, and it could show two futures, one where policy prioritize efficiency and one where policy prioritize compassion. And the first is cheaper, but it's short run, and the second one is slower, more complex, but the results in resilience and healthier communities. And this is the power that I think technology would put in our hand, which is to infuse compassion and empathy in a way that not to give us one answer, but to help us choose consciously. Um, so I kind of see this AI approach has a GPS for civilization. So a GPS that can show you the fastest routes, but also the fastest routes can be questioned if they are the best routes, and sometimes they are not. Other times they are. So sometimes this bypassing parts of the route might not be the option, and we need to include that in our concept. So when we see not only AI but compassion AI has a GPS that could ask not just how fast but at what cost and towards what purpose. I think that civilization choice would be much more resilient and real. So I'm near to conclude, but definitely design AI to focus on deepen care, not just to replace people as a whole. It's a challenge, but at the same time, it's probably the healthy usage, because actually I just came from a congress just right now where we were talking about how AI in telehealth is actually boosting this rate of substitution in one fields and other ones to improve experience. So this is kind of two or three or multiple forces pushing to different sides. So I would invite you to think on AI, not of course has it a technology, it's a Lapalis concept, but has a collective ethical simulation tool. So I think it's interesting when you can simulate, because it's like when you use virtual reality, you can deep dive on the reality and be much more conscious about the way you're taking decisions, because there's something that is, unless you have a pathology, but if not, it's something that is in all human beings, which is empathy. And I think this is something we need to embrace and to have very clear in our minds, because of course future of health, personally and planetary, will depend not just on what we can do, but what we choose to do together. And I think this is again something very obvious, but in the end of the day, sometimes it's not so obvious. So, to give you a last message, or to share a last message, I work with AI in almost all its domains. So I work with it by designing it. I work with since, I don't know, 2010, I think. Um, I generate algorithms, I test them, I use synthetic data, I love GANs. GANs to be understood, because actually we can do amazing things on expanding the simulation, namely in populations or contexts that we have just very short. We are very short of data. But one of the things that I'm seeing a lot is this Dunning-Kruger feeling that many people that touch these concepts have the feeling that this is it and this is not it. So we often think more that data will solve everything, that AI will solve everything. But compassion reminds us that it's not more data that we need, it's actually but deeper wisdom. And I think this deeper wisdom is something that we need to be proud of as a civilization, because there's a lot of wisdom on it. If not, I know we have wars, we have a lot of things going on, but at the same time we are assisting to the best examples of compassion and relationship and empathy to each other at the same time. It's kind of a balance. So I really think that the true power on AI is much more than predicting our future, is to helping us choose it. Because when we choose with conscience, we are not choosing without the responsibility, and none of us want to have a bad responsibility in that. So thank you very much. And I hope that we can do more of these type of conversations in the future, because I think they are extremely useful for everyone.
Thank you very much, Sophia. That was absolutely amazing and very interesting. I never thought of having a digital twin, and
It's a dream for me,
and
but I think only
I
with other types of computation we can have it. Maybe quantum computing
but
will bring it.
I watched Black Mirror, so I'm not very sure.
I saw it too.
Uh, uh,
Thank you so much.
Just anyone, just if there's any questions, I don't want to monopolize the questions. Please drop a question, and in the meantime, I will just probably read the question to you that I thought while you were, because I also do a lot, not as I do a lot of deployment of health solutions in very hard to reach areas, mostly the global south. And you spoke about compassionate personalization, which is normally sometimes profit driven. Where I
Mhm.
work, most communities often lack tailored services in health or
Mhm.
education, or mostly both. What would a truly personalized, compassionate driven AI look like?
Haha. I honestly think that we have a common. So when we take out all the layers that make us all different in terms of either education, genetics, whatever we like to say that we are super different. When we discovered genetics, we I think it was kind of a cold water shower saying, look, you are different from a fly on 2 or 3% of your genetics. So be conscious that you are connected literally to everything by all your molecules. So when we think about this, taking layers out, we understand that we are much more connected and similar to each other. And I think AI is being able, for instance, comparing genetics would only be possible with AI, with more or less advanced AI. But so when we have a lot of this data cleared and we can see through it with a level of objectivity, so being really clear and data driven, we see that a lot of our actions wouldn't make sense because they don't benefit the other. They just benefit some specific sorts or parts of the society or the future. So I think AI is playing an amazing role in this, making it obvious how our conscience is much more connected to each other than it is than our daily basis mindset. I don't know if I made myself clear, but it's really hard to make it in words. That but it's when you take out all, there's a word in English starting by B and and ending with IT. When you take all the things that are not important and you get to the main layers, we are so similar that it's not an option, it's not even a clever option not to search for the best option for everyone. the thing is really hard because we are so embedded in our fields, in healthcare, in education, in policy making, in any field, that we cannot see it. And I think this simulation world that we are using a lot, much more to gaming in a non-objective way, if we can make it more obvious to everyone, this common conscious, we could really truly change a lot of parts in the world. I really trust that.
Thank you very
The game
much.
of life.
Yeah. Patrick has a question. In recent AI plus compassion talk last week, we were discussing the idea of a layer of compassion over technology as a filter. Do you see a way for there to be a purpose layer? Oh, nice. And how that would be, and how that would look in medicine.
I must say, Patrick, that I love the idea. I really do. And on the other hand, I think there are already some layers that we use that they approach to compassion concepts, because many times nowadays, I think we all know that we don't work with one layer of algorithms. We work with multiple layers, 18, 30, sometimes more. We adapt data. So in some of the decision making process on that, and it happens in the autonomous vehicle, for instance. This is one of the interesting cultural layers that it's discussable, is because probably in one side of the world, if the car would have to crash between two people in one side of the world, we would select to save one, and on the other side another one. So this is always a very cultural hard thing when we go to this end of line decision making process. And in healthcare, many times we are. Actually, I wasn't expecting in my lifetime to have to be part of a decision making group selecting to whom we would conceptually give a ventilator, for instance. So these type of decisions that are end of line slash life slash, no one likes to take them. So I think that probably this compassion layer would help us have a clear vision on the future and the impact. So it would take out some of the hard decisions that many times we take them because we are pushed to it and we cannot have a pause or a real evaluation on scenarios to do it. This is like the heavy part. When we go to the light part, if we go for the wellness concept, where we actually have a lot of amazing sensors and medical devices or non-medical wellness devices that measure us and give us advice on the daily basis. Imagine if besides that, we would have this compassion layer, like Patrick was saying, that empathize with you and actually understands your efforts and not just pushes you like a dictator. Had we have a lot of them like that, but would just support you on how you're feeling and how you're going through your journey. I think that would be amazing. And I also think that this is not a further future. I think this is like the the challenge, and just not to make it too long, but the challenge in my point of view is when you decide to put this layer of compassion, how would you design the consequences of each of the outputs of the layer, which is, I don't think it's so clear and obvious for everyone at the moment, how to decide.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was trying to get a sense of like the distinction or the difference between compassion and purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So purpose more related to, you know, to your decisions. But you talked about the medicine, so I got a sense of that. But if anything comes up, I'd be interested, you know, in
Sorry,
what you have to
I
say.
lost the purpose on that. Sorry, but it's
Yeah.
totally true. I think, well, I think we already have some examples in happening now where purpose was the main driver, but they are
Mhm.
all in testing. Um, I think we're going to have more and more because with literacy going up, I'm not going to call it knowledge, but yet information distributed more and more. I
Yep.
think people are being more participatory in the process of co-creation for solutions or for scaling up solutions. And I think not only patients, citizens in general, and I think this is going to have a huge impact in the purpose-driven selection of solutions, because solutions were much more the decision process was much more in the top down. So it was much more aligned with specific values like efficiency or boosting top lines or whatever. And now
Right.
when you put other decision people that are engaged and are actually benefiting from a solution, the purpose driven, it changes a little bit. And I think it changed for the good.
Good. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very, very much.